The 22 most popular anime genres and the titles that define them. Anime isn't a genre itself, but includes many genres like comedy, romance, and sci-fi. Each genre has iconic shows like Sailor Moon and Naruto that define their categories. Popular anime like Dragon Ball and Berserk set the template for successors in their genres. Anime isn't a genre in and of itself. Rather, it comprises series and films of all kinds with a distinct style of Japanese animation. The top anime genres vary with what shows are popular at the moment, but they typically feature the same elements of comedy, romance, or science fiction. There are many genres of anime for shows to be classified under, from more obscure ones like Isekai to well-known staples like shonen. In each genre lies at least one of the most popular anime of all time, from Sailor Moon to Naruto. These iconic, top-watched shows are excellent ways to explore each anime category. To get a good feel of what each genre of anime has to offer, check out the top animated series that define their specific subgroup. 1. Shonen. Dragon Ball. My anime list score, 7.97. Given the global outpouring of love fans showed when Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama passed away in March 2024, it's safe to say his show about the life and times of an aggressive monkey boy touched the hearts of millions, if not whole nations. Dragon Ball Super's finale with Goku fighting Jiren led to the Mexican government sponsoring public watch parties across the country, causing a minor international incident when the Japanese government asked them to stop, which they didn't. Beyond that, Dragon Ball has practically defined shonen anime as we know it today. The beef fests in Fist of the North Star faded by the end of the 1980s, but Dragon Ball lasted throughout the 1980s and 1990s and inspired every other series about plucky boys growing stronger through their encounters, for example One Piece, Naruto, My Hero Academia. Its classic fights, character designs, humorous quirks, and even its flaws, are recognizable all around the world, where even people who don't watch anime will know what a Kamehameha is. 2. Shoujo. Sailor Moon. My anime list score, 7.73. Of course, this entry was going to be Sailor Moon. It may not be every shoujo fan's cup of tea, but for many more, it's the end-all, be-all, greatest shoujo, magical girl anime to ever exist. The show certainly became popular enough to make Usagi, the titular moon-based punisher of evil, essentially anime's mascot. Alongside the other Sailor Guardians, she must protect the world from Queen Beryl and her energy-stealing minions. Aside from inspiring multiple sequels, reboots, remakes, games, toys, and more, the series inspired more shows with female leads in its wake, like Revolutionary Girl Utena, Tokyo Mew Mew, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil. It even inspired other magical shows like Steven Universe, and not just for its sparkly aesthetic. The series was ahead of its time in featuring dark turns all up Wella Magi Madoka Magica, and progressive social themes like Sailor Uranus and Neptune's romance, and the trans-themed Sailor Starlights. 3. Josei. Nana. My anime list score, 8.56. Similar to shoujo series, Josei targets a female audience but caters to adults rather than kids and teens. While there is often a romantic subplot roaming around, chasing after handsome men is not the entire focus of this genre. It can focus on grown-up interests, Chihifuru's focus on Karuta, or tackle real-life issues in a way that makes life-or-death situations in other genres seem small by comparison, like in Nana. It follows two girls who share the same name, but have little else in common, living together in Tokyo as they subsequently become inseparable besties, supporting each other's dreams. Nana Osaki seeks fame and fortune through her rock band, while Nana Komatsu is more interested in cultivating her love life. Unfortunately, the closer they come to their aspirations, the more their friendship is jeopardized, leading them to make some difficult decisions. 4. Snen. Berserk. My anime list score, 8.59. Snen is to shonen what Josei is to shoujo. It typically caters to an audience of men 18 and older, but can still be relatable to many other viewers, as well, because it also deals with complex themes and grown-up interests. However, the content can be more extreme, with more blood and adult content, which can make it a no-go area for the squeamish. For example, Fist of the North Star, a series featuring a constant array of exploding heads and body parts, is still a shonen series. Berserk is shonen because it manages to go into worse places than that. However, it's more famous as a manga as each of its animated adaptations is compromised to one degree or another. Even the beloved 1997 series is a truncated, censored version of the Golden Age arc done on the cheap. However, it still reigns as one of the most iconic and popular shonen anime for its grittiness, action, and impressive characters. Guts' time spent with Griffith and Casca, and their horrific end, goes into the nature of revenge, ambition, and love. It's also heavy on blood, murder, and assault, so viewers should tread carefully. 5. Fantasy. Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. My anime list score, 9.09. Berserk could also count as the genre's most iconic fantasy anime, but that would be greedy. As influential as it is, there is no shortage of fantasy anime to rival it, particularly for viewers who fancy something dramatic but not as heavy as Guts' tortured life. Something like Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, which combine mystical spells with steampunk technology, as Edward Elric seeks to restore his brother Alphonse's human body by finding the Philosopher's Stone. It's become one of MAL's highest-rated anime shows, as the Elric brothers' quest was a unique blend of fantasy and sci-fi elements, which it used to produce heartbreaking moments, Ward, shocking twists, and grand battles. The only show like it was Full Metal Alchemist, the 2003 series that was made while the manga was still being produced. It arguably did the first half of FMA's story better than Brotherhood, but took the plot in its own, stranger direction for the second half. 6. Isekai. Sword Art Online. My anime list score, 7.21. Isekai likely needs little introduction at this point. It's been booming since the early 2010s, inspiring its own crazes like villainous stories and dating game tales. But it's technically just a new iteration of Portal fantasy stories, where the main characters enter a new world through some mysterious means. It could be a fantasy land, a video game world, or both like the series responsible for the boom, Sword Art Online. It follows Kirito as he goes from being a beta tester for the aforementioned VR MMORPG to becoming one of its best warriors, defending its fantasy world of Ankrod from all threats with the help of his friends. The show has faced a fair amount of backlash and criticism for unoriginal characters and repetitive plots, but its core ideas inspired many more series. Since its release, dozens of other shows involving virtual worlds or video game-like settings have sprung into popularity, including the beloved That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. 7. Sci-Fi. Cowboy Bebop. My anime list score, 8.75. Sci-fi practically made anime what it is today, as its earliest stories, like Astro Boy, Giant Robo, etc., were all about robots, aliens, and humanity's place in relation to them. Still, they are shows from the 1960s based on manga from the 1950s. Iconic as they are, they've aged. But old sci-fi can last a good while, as Cowboy Bebop, a show from 1998, is arguably as strong today as it was when it was broadcast 26 years ago. On the surface, it follows the charming Spike Spiegel and his ragtag crew of bounty hunters traveling through space to make some cash. Underneath the hood, it sees how humanity in all its shapes and forms has spread across the solar system, and how this new interstellar world has affected them back. The show is equal parts serious and intense, and fun and easygoing, appealing to millions of fans worldwide. 8. Mecha. Mobile Suit Gundam. My anime list score, 7.75. Mecha may have gotten its start with Giant Robo and Mazinger Z, but it took Mobile Suit Gundam to make it an iconic part of anime. Alongside Astro Boy, Sailor Moon, and Goku. Messages RX-78 to Gundam Mech practically represents the medium as a whole, with Yokohama previously having a life-size model of it standing in its city. It's since been taken down, but fans can see a similar model based on Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn in Odaiba, Tokyo. The original series, following Amuro Ray using the RX-78 to defend against the Principality of Zeon, debuted in the late 1970s and would inspire more mecha series to come. Beyond the multiple different Gundam series, Gundam Wing is a popular one. Its focus on the casualties of war and use of teen protagonists would inspire the darker Neon Genesis Evangelion, while its lighter elements would inspire Macross and Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. 9. Sports. Kyuu. My anime list score, 8.44. Wait, Kyuu? Sure, it's one of the most popular sports anime around, and its third season became the highest-rated sports series on MAL. It's certainly the best volleyball series around, as Sho Hinata aims to follow the Little Giant's lead and become an ace volleyball player despite his height. It's got funny characters, neat budding friendships, and nail-biting competitions that crank up the tension. Added note by Viking, wouldn't the definer of a genre be older like Brink of Tennis? But some may flinch at it being described as genre-defining. It's a young pup compared to famous boxing shows like Hajime no Ippo and Tomorrow's Joe, or Slam Dunk, which caused a whole generation of Japanese viewers to take up basketball. However, those series were also arguably better in their original manga form, with their anime being harder to find or not as well paced. As a complete package that represents the best of sports anime while being easier to find online, Kyuu is a great place to start. 10. Adventure. One Piece. My anime list score, 8.72. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates' quest to find Goldie Roger's hidden hoard of treasure has been going on for 25 years now. Longer still for people who stuck to the manga, which began in 1997. It's been going on for so long that the anime series is going to receive a remake, The One Piece, before it has even ended. The manga is winding down now, and the anime will follow suit, but the remake means Luffy and co. will be sticking around for much longer. Still, it didn't become one of the longest-running anime of all time, nor did its manga one of the best-selling in history, for nothing. One Piece has been a continual series of ocean-faring adventures from the start, where its protagonists travel across the seas, facing off against powerful enemies with a broad range of skills and tricks up their sleeves. It's practically the perfect anime for fans of adventure shows. 11. Drama. A Silent Voice. My anime list score, 8.93. Not all popular anime are action-packed or humorous, as many stellar storylines focus on serious issues and sentimental content, focusing substantially on character development. It would be tough to find someone who has watched A Silent Voice and not shed a tear at some point, as this moving narrative is an emotional roller coaster dealing with depression, disabilities, suicidal tendencies, and the brutality of bullying. There is not a lot of light-hearted content in this movie, but it is certain to leave the audience with a warm fuzzy feeling by the end. Shoko Nishimiya struggles to integrate into her new school and becomes an easy target due to her hearing impairment, with Shoya Ishida enthusiastically participating in tormenting her. When things go too far, Shoya gets a taste of his own medicine when he is ostracized by his classmates and begins to obsessively grapple with his intense guilt while trying to somehow earn Shoko's forgiveness. 12. Romance. Fruits Basket. My anime list score, 7.69, 2001, 8.21, 2019. One of the most popular genres of film and television of all time, animated or not, is romance. People love watching people fall in love, in all sorts of circumstances and fictional worlds. One anime that sticks out above all the rest when it comes to romance is Fruits Basket, a show based on a best-selling rom-com manga. It sees Taru, a young girl who lost her parents, move in with the Sama family, where the boys suffer from a curse that briefly turns them into animals from the Chinese zodiac if they're hugged by a girl. With that premise, it's safe to say the show is more than an average teen romance story. Through its magical premise, it deeply explores each of its incredible characters and highlights important friend and family relationships as well as romance as Taru learns more about the Simas and tries to help undo their curse. This show is guaranteed to make audiences blush, in a good way. 13. Boys Love. Given my anime list score, 8.31. Fruits Basket is great for the straights, but what does the LGBTQ community have? Though popular in Japan since the start of the medium, boys' love stories have been on an upswing in the West thanks to the likes of Yuri on Ice and Junju Romantica, though not always in the most constructive of ways. Given stands out as it feels less like it's using BL to tantalize readers, and more to give them a strong, romantic story. It's essentially about the ins and outs of an amateur rock band. When Ritsuka, the reluctant guitar teacher to classmate Mifo, hears the guy sing during a jam session with his bandmates, he's so moved by his singing that he insists he becomes their singer. But Mifo is unsure, as he's still dealing with the trauma of losing his boyfriend to suicide. He's been trying to express himself and play his late boyfriend's guitar ever since. His attempts to come to terms with this, with Ritsuka's help, made it one of anime's most moving love stories, let alone in BL. 14. Girls Love. Revolutionary Girl Utena. My anime list score, 8.21. Revolutionary Girl Utena is a lot of things. It's a fantasy drama, a deconstruction of fairy tales, an examination of sexuality, morality, and abuse, and one of the key inspirations for Steven Universe. But it's also ultimately about one girl trying to win the heart and trust of another. Inspired by a prince who helped her out following her parents' deaths, Utena aims to become a prince herself by entering Oatori Academy. While there, she discovers it has a club of duelists who fight for control of Anthe, the Rose Bride, who has a great, latent amount of power. Sickened that Anthe is being treated like a literal object, Utena enters the duel to prove her worth as a prince and free Anthe from their control. It sounds simple, but her rivals aren't jokes, and Anthe isn't some innocent flower girl waiting for the right person's hand. It's a complex, convention-defying series that still holds strong today. 15. Comedy. Ouran High School Host Club. My anime list score, 8.16. Many shows feature comedy as a secondary genre, with their primary focus being fantasy, romance, or adventure. Thus, it's hard to pick just one anime series that captures comedy at its finest. One show that is iconic for its goofy jokes, fantastic banter, and hilarious plotlines is Ouran High School Host Club. It sees Haruhi, a new female student at Ouran Academy, getting mistaken for a boy due to getting stuck with short hair and a guy's uniform. Her bad luck continues when she's made to join the host club to pay for a vase she broke by accident. It has some cheesy love elements, the will they, won't they between Haruhi and Tamaki, but it stays true to the light-hearted, over-the-top, and truly wacky nature of comedy anime. The kind-hearted yet spoiled rotten host club boys have the most knee-slapping interactions with the middle-class Haruhi, and their contrasting dynamic makes for incredible comedic situations. 16. Musical. Carol and Tuesday. My anime list score, 7.85. Countless musicals, in anime and beyond, stick to using music as a device for delivering the plot, even if they're about musicians and the music business. A Hard Day's Night broke ground by actually being about a band preparing for a show, with rehearsals and everything. In contrast, Carol and Tuesday revolves everything around their music, with each episode introducing sensational performances accompanied by a breathtaking musical score and some of the most inspired lyrics written for an anime series. The girls' passion for melody is utterly contagious as they compete against other talented stars in the Mars Brightest competition, aiming to prove human passion is something the AI singers can't replicate. This uplifting series does not shy away from addressing serious topics to create a well-rounded narrative, be it racism, classism, or the treatment of the LGBTQ community, albeit not without controversy. 17. Slice of Life. Clannad. My anime list score, 7.99. Based on the visual novel of the same name, Clannad was about Tomoya Okazaki, a high school delinquent who has his life flipped upside down when he becomes friends with a girl named Nagisa Furukawa. At first, he tried to shun her and her weird eccentricities, like exclaiming what she likes as a form of motivation. But eventually, he concedes and becomes her friend. From there, while he tries to play it cool, he shows more of his soft side when he tries to help Nagisa achieve her dream of restarting the school's drama club. It's a simple, sweet story that's more easygoing than the more blood-pumping entries on this list. The show still has drama, pulling on the heartstrings like a harp, but it's all comparatively grounded compared to seafaring and space travel. 18. Historical. Rose of Versailles. My anime list score, 8.33. Rose of Versailles isn't just historical because of how old the series is, debuting way back in 1979. That's because the entire plot revolves around the French Revolution and puts an intriguing spin on the iconic life story of Marie Antoinette. Set in the Palace of Versailles, this story follows a Parisian noblewoman who is raised as a boy under the name of Oscar François de Georges, because her father was in desperate need of a male heir. The older Lady Oscar gets, the more complicated things become, eventually leading to a crossroads, as she must decide whether to dedicate her energy to the masculine role of savior and protector in the royal guard or walk a more feminine path instead. Its pretty art style and gender-defying lead were a big influence on revolutionary girl Utena, but it also inspired Berserk with its hard-hitting drama, as its 40 episodes pack in a lot of twists and turns along the way. 19. Supernatural. Castlevania. IMDb score, 8.3. This one might be a controversial choice, as fans have argued over whether the Castlevania series counts as an anime. It was largely produced in America by American companies, and one since disgraced English comic writer, but it's based on the classic Japanese video game series produced by a Japanese company and had plenty of staff who cut their teeth in Japan's anime industry. That's without getting into its influences like Berserk, so it's certainly anime enough for this list, and it's definitely supernatural. Like the games, the series is full of vampires, demonic monstrosities, mages, necromancers, minotaurs, cyclopses, etc. The list goes on. With a medieval setting overflowing with magic, anything seems possible, like two humans and a vampire defeating the king of the vampires. To thwart Vlad Dracula Tsepish murderous warpath, three unlikely allies team up to protect the innocent, while trying not to kill each other in the process. In turn, Dracula has to rely on his human companions to handle some rebellious vampire subordinates. Oh, the irony. 20. Horror. Elfen Lied. My anime list score, 7.47. There are plenty of horror anime out there nowadays, whether it's Higurashi, When They Cry, or the different, usually unsuccessful, attempts to turn Junji Ito's fantastic horror manga into equally great animated shows. But one of the few that managed to go viral in a pre-streaming, pre-social world was Elfen Lied. It follows Lucy, a member of a genetically enhanced human subspecies called Diclonius, who threatens to wipe out humanity in revenge for the cruel experiments performed on her. The only thing keeping her from doing so is her split personality, where she becomes a more innocent, less verbal version of herself, who gets taken in by college students Kouta and Yuka. Aside from its horrific violence, which often borders on being comical, it's also as brutal in its theming, showcasing the worst of humanity. Lucy is a genocidal threat, but so are humans when they're equally driven by their own prejudices and experiences. 21. Psychological. Death Note. My anime list score, 8.62. Death Note continues to reign as one of the best anime series of all time. It's become iconic alone for its premise. As high school student Light Yagami comes across a notebook that'll kill whoever Light knows if he writes their name on its pages. It has horror elements with its serious shinigami and crime themes as the police try to find out how Light's victims are being killed, as he targets more people under the cover name Kira. But it's best known for its drawn-out psychological games between the main characters and the plot twists at every turn. Just as Light thinks he'll become a god, some figure or obstacle is standing in his way, like L, an eccentric investigative genius who draws closer to the truth. It turns a battle of wits into a thrill ride where just writing down a name becomes a shocking event. 22. Suspense. Monster. My anime list score, 8.88. Before Pluto finally got completed and released on Netflix, the only animated adaptation of Naoki Urasawa's work was Monster. Like the manga, it was a masterclass in suspenseful storytelling, albeit one viewers had to commit to as it's 74 episodes long. Inspired by the 1960s show The Fugitive, it similarly sees a doctor stuck at the heart of a murder mystery. Only instead of them being wrongfully accused, the deaths are because of a choice they made. Dr. Tenma, a famed neurosurgeon, had to choose between saving the life of the mayor of Dusseldorf or a young boy. He chose the boy, which brought his standing down at the hospital until his biggest critics were suddenly killed. Years later, he discovers a patient of his has been kidnapped. Tracking them down, Dr. Tenma discovers the boy grew up to become a killer, a monster, and that it's up to him to stop them from killing more. Its nature versus nurture themes, battle of wills, and race against time make it a must-watch show.
Hello. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many are not comfortable with AI art, but I am saving to gather supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time, but I am hoping to get into resin, woodworking, and metalworking. All I ask, please enjoy my videos.